with us on Super Talk 99.7. Thank you for being here. Lots to get into, lots to discuss. Bel K's behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as humanly possible. We appreciate that from him. You may get in on the conversation at any point of your choosing. 615-737-9986. 615-737-WWTN. That's also the membersnutrition.com super text line, and we give those numbers often and as quickly as possible, just to keep you on your toes. And a lot to keep you on your toes today, nationally, internationally, obviously locally. We've got some news. Statewide, we've got some news as well. And we appreciate your commentary on each and every one of those things. Let's start here. It appears, without it being in the ground, without it being in the crematorium, that the education, whatever you feel about it, that the education scholarship bill is dead. All of my sources are indicating to me that that is the case now, that they cannot get a secure vote in the House committee on the matter. I have been in communication with Representative Scott Sapicki, who was the lead voice in the legislation in the House of Representatives. He will be on the show tomorrow afternoon. He could not do it today. He'll be on tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. He'll spend the entire hour with us, and we will dissect what is either the resurrection. I mean, if this thing comes, let's put it this way. If this thing comes back to life, I will refer to it as the Lazarus bill, because I think it's to bed right now. We will either be discussing by tomorrow, I expect, what happened and what went wrong, and what impasse could not be overcome, or we will be discussing the resurrection of the legislation. I've been told by multiple sources that, and I'm not, you guys know where I am on it. I don't really have a dog or a pony in the fight, except that I pay taxes. And I would expect that my taxes would go to better educational opportunities for Tennessee students. Sadly, the public education system is a failing system. It's a failing system primarily because it is a monopoly. It has no competition, and it is run by the government. Most anything that's run by the government is going to fail. Even when it has competition, oftentimes those things run by the government fails. Look at, the U.S. Postal Service as an example. So my interest is to better educational opportunities for all Tennessee students. And I believe the only way you do that is to infuse a level of competition that doesn't currently exist in public education. And in doing so, as long as the attitudes either have to change regarding that competition, or obviously the public education system will get worse, which is what I think Scott Sapicki was talking about when he referred to blowing the system up and starting again from scratch. He wasn't talking about destroying public education, for goodness sake. Although that's not off the table for me either. So my interest, and understand my intent, you can agree or disagree with how we accomplish that goal. That's all well and good. But my intent is to better the educational opportunities for Tennessee students in private school, Tennessee students in public school, Tennessee students that are homeschooled. I want the best educational opportunities for all students. And I believe that this would go a long way to accomplish that. There's plenty of things to hate about it, but I think that there are more things to like about it. You guys know where I am on it. Some of you agree with me, some of you disagree. We took a recent poll, and it was, something like 39 to 27. I think that's about right. It was 39, yes, we're in favor of this, 27, no, we're not in favor of that. Informal poll that we did on the show about a week ago. But what is my understanding is that in committee, Representative Jeremy Faison has decided to vote against the legislation, and that he was a needed vote in order to get it out of committee. I invited Representative Faison on the show, and I'll simply read to you the text exchange. Can you come on the show tomorrow? We can talk in the morning beforehand if you'd like. I don't want to argue with you about your position or anything. I just want to get your rationale behind where you are on all of this. Would love to have you. That is to Representative Faison. And his response was, the education bill has left some really raw emotions right now. Probably not a good time for me to talk about it on the air. And I said, I understand, maybe later this week or next. And he said, good, right on, is what he said, actually. So eventually we'll get his thoughts on it. But just wanted you to have the information, the intelligence that I have so far on the ground in the General Assembly and the Tennessee legislature. It's the biggest piece of legislation. And there are other pieces of legislation that matter. We'll have Gino Bolso on tomorrow at 12:15 or so to discuss his flag bill, which is expected to come up for a vote at some point tonight. I think that's correct. But this is the biggest piece of legislation that's been going on in the General Assembly that would affect a decent amount of Tennessee students, 20,000, up to 20,000 Tennessee students. And it looks like it will not be happening this session. This was a major piece of the governor's agenda this session. Now, look, I don't want to cast it dead yet, although every piece of information I'm getting is indicating that it is. But can you revive it? Can you put some paddles to it? Pop that thing, get the flat line going? I don't know. That's not up to me. That's up to the proponents of the bill. And we'll find out. Or, you know what? And frankly, it might be up to you to a certain degree. I would imagine that if enough of you find out where your representatives are on the legislation prior to the vote and you get to those representatives, I mean, voices matter. Collective voices matter. So, I mean, if you want to hit up your representative and it happens to be Jeremy Faison and tell him that you support it, all well and good. If you decide that you don't want to do that and you believe that Jeremy Faison is right in his opposition to it, I'm just letting you know. I'm just here, baby, reporting the news. And at this point, the news is that the education bill is dead and that the primary, I mean, to a certain degree, it's like saying that a swing vote on the Supreme Court is the one and singular thing that pushed a matter one way or the other. I mean, the other votes matter too, obviously. But this was the swing vote that swung it in the wrong direction. In the meantime, Donald Trump is on trial. Day 2 of jury selection in the Trump hush money trial, as it's being called, is ongoing. CNN has I am so amused by the manner in which they cover this. The fact that CNN, hashtag never CNN, I call it hashtag never CNN because I never want you to watch this garbage network. It's a garbage network full of garbage people, one of which is not Charles Barkley anymore. I don't know if you saw that. You know, Barkley was doing that weekend show with Gayle King because somebody thought that it was a great name. Hey, guys, we could call it King Charles, and we could get Gayle King and Charles Barkley, and it'll be all cool because, you know, Charles is the king now over in England, and you see how it works on multiple levels. Ha, 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 ha.
Instead, it just came off like they were ripping off LeBron.
Well, I watched an episode of the show. It sucked. I mean, I don't care how cute your name is if the show sucks. I've had Chuck on the show on multiple occasions. I did a radio show 30 miles from where he grew up. Charles Barkley has been on my show. I like the guy for what it's worth. But I learned early on, if you scratch the surface of his knowledge on politics very deeply, you come up with air. You come up with nothing. And so I would have predicted to you, and I think I did, that this thing is going nowhere. I mean, one, people don't traditionally watch these deep dive political shows on the weekends, although I will sample Mark Levin from time to time on Fox News. That said, the show just wasn't very good. It had no depth of knowledge, and so it's dead. But anyway.
Well, what do you know, you dope?
What do you know? Hey, what are you talking about? He said he liked my show. Fox News Sunday evenings. Tune in. And I'm on this radio station at 7 o'clock tonight. You dope. So, one way or the other, CNN has decided, just decided that they're going to go all in on this coverage because hashtag never CNN has decided since 2016 that it is their singular goal to get Trump. And because of that, they've gone into the crapper in terms of ratings because no one can believe that they're getting the real news from CNN, especially when it comes to presidential politics. So that's ongoing. We'll give you I don't know that there's any update. It's jury selection, for goodness sake. They're asking them a series of questions. Donald Trump is sitting in the courtroom glaring at them. The big news yesterday afternoon was apparently that Donald Trump fell asleep. Ha, 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 Donald Trump fell asleep. So what? I promise you, it's a fall asleep worthy event. I've been in a courtroom. I've seen jury selection. I don't know if you've ever seen, it's boring. The only people interested are these prospective jurors and the people involved with selecting them. And they're asking the same questions over and over. And I'm certain that for a while there, Donald Trump was glaring at them to try to pierce through their souls to see if they were pro or anti-Trump or neutral on the matter. I don't know that they'll get one juror willing to nullify the jury. I mean, you're dealing with a prosecutor that ran on the concept of getting Trump. You're dealing with a case that involves federal charges that the federal government themselves refused to file. You're dealing with Alvin Bragg, who initially refused to file the charges. He was then pressured into doing so by former prosecutors in the New York area and worried that he would be run out of town on a rail if he did not prosecute, and so he decided to do so. He shackled together state law and federal law and a state charge and a federal charge in an effort to create a felony out of a misdemeanor. All of this is on the record, by the way. You can look all of it up. So all of it's a rather convoluted dog and pony show. Oh, by the way, Donald Trump is accused of doing exactly the same thing that John Edwards did, that Bill Clinton did. Now, I don't know if Donald Trump was guilty like those other two. I mean, Jonathan Edwards, we have physical evidence of his guilt in as much as he bore a baby out of his illicit affair. Bill Clinton, he just had George Stephanopoulos, the magnanimous one, and James Carville paying off woman after woman after woman. Bimbo eruptions, they called them. And folks, Donald Trump is not accused of using campaign contributions to do this. He used his own money. The basis of all of this, the basis of this entire accusation is that instead of filing this as hush money for a porn actress, Donald Trump filed it as a retainer for his attorney. That's it. And as a result, here we are, spending untold amounts of money, of New York City's money that New York City doesn't have, by the way, in an effort to stop Trump's reelection campaign, which is what all of this is about. And I beg of you, if you consider this case, and it will get lumbering at some point, it will get moving forward at some point. After jury selection happens, then you'll start getting the liar Michael Cohen on the stand and Hope Hicks on the stand and others. And once that occurs, it'll be gangbusters. It'll be the trial of the century, as some are referring to it. And maybe you'll tune in. And I just want you to have a basis of understanding of what's truly going on there. So we've got that going on, and we'll discuss it. We will talk about death to America at some point today. We have people in this country that are screaming death to America in the United States of America. And I want to know what you want to do with those folks. Because what I would like to do with those folks is just irrationally, and I don't care how we accomplish it, just send them somewhere else. I don't care where, I don't care how. Just if you have one opportunity, I'm going to tell you my theory as to how we should treat these individuals. I'm talking about the ones that are stopping traffic all over the United States of America, Golden Gate Bridge, Chicago, Illinois, other parts of the country, demanding this, that, or the other thing when it comes to the Palestinians and the Israelis. You say death to America, you've got one shot to explain to me why you get to stay here. Otherwise, you're out. In the meantime, it is a Tuesday edition of the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Here's how you listen, 99.7 FM. You can also listen on a variety of streaming platforms of your choosing, and you can do so by dialing up those streaming platforms at your leisure. You may also watch on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Episode 553 is entitled.
Well, I kind of went a little different this today because I don't know if you saw Chris Hand's title.
I did not.
It was basically Mac bragging because he bothered to show up to work. Because he hadn't been there for a couple days. So I changed ours, and ours is Matt Murphy and Bell K on the job. Mac Maury slacking as usual.
That's true. I mean, there's no Maury right now, right?
No, there's no Maury right now.
He'll be back, though. He'll be back. We'll ask him his response. We'll see if we can get a robust retort from Mac Maury coming up at 2 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WT. And there you go. Super Talk TV is up and running for you masochists in the listening audience. A reminder, Mayor Glenn Jacobs coming up at 12:30 today at Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 615-737-9986. Stand by.
The Drive with Ryan Wilson.
I think they did what they did to save face within Iran, to say, look what we did. We fired off 120 ballistic missiles, 30 cruise missiles, 170 drones. Yeah, but what did it accomplish? It was an attack more for show than to actually cause big harm. That's the way it feels to me.
Afternoons at 3.
We're back. It flares up from time to time, and off I go to the Dr. Gill Center to get relief, and you can get relief as well. Make the call that so many others have made, or make the short drive to Franklin. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. Don't take a pill. Call Dr. Gill, 615-882-4838, 882-4838 for the Dr. Gill Center. All right, here we go. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Man, there's a lot of famous people in town today. His fellow Rachel Levine is over at Vanderbilt University. We'll talk about him later. I have a long-standing policy that if you're a grown-up and you spend an extended amount of time, if you're a male grown-up, you're born a male, you spend an extended amount of time in a dress, I'm not calling you a she until you show me a little commitment, and you show me a little commitment to your gender switch, and I'm happy to show you some commitment by calling you a woman. Otherwise, you're still a guy. Anyway, that's coming up later on in the show. I just did that to get the reaction that I absolutely got from our next guest. Mayor Glenn Jacobs joins us in studio. It's a big applause. It's a much applause. I mean, Aaron Goldbrinson is here too, but whatever.
Not that important. So.
Wait, hold on. You turned on one mic. I figured you had both of them on there, Bell. Okay, thank you very much. You too busy hugging people over there. Hello, Mayor.
Right.
Well, I don't know if we need to be talking about hugging after you talk about Rachel.
I love that. I just did that for the look. Oh no, he was over at Vanderbilt earlier. I don't know what they're doing over there. I don't know.
Well, can we move on, please?
Yeah, we can. Hello, Mayor. How are you?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. It's good to see you in studio, man.
Yeah, it's nice to be here. It's the first time I've ever been in studio with you.
I believe that is the case.
Yes, it is.
We've had an opportunity to talk on many occasions, but first time in studio. I know you were over in home base, Knox County, earlier today for the Men of Valor function. The last time I saw you was in Nashville at the Men of Valor function. Is that an organization? I mean, obviously you are affiliated with this organization. What a wonderful group of people.
They do great work. They opened their campus in Knoxville about 3 years ago. This morning they had about 650 people at this breakfast, which is a huge turnout. We're really happy about that. But yeah, they do tremendous work.
And it's the way that we say that we want it, right? That they work with the government.
Right.
They don't keep their hand out to government. I mean, it's our donations that make that possible for them. But they work through government in our prison system to reduce the taxpayer burden by reducing recidivism.
That's right.
I absolutely love it.
That's right. It's an amazing statistic. Recidivism across the state runs up to 75%, right? And if someone goes through the Men of Our program for a year, that drops to single digits. Mm-hmm. And the beauty of that means less crime and fewer victims, fewer people getting hurt. So I think that's something we can all get behind.
You have you brought in a championship belt with you. What is up with this? I like that.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Show that camera right there. That camera right there. Show that camera.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Which camera?
Yeah. You're good. You're fine.
The one over there with the green light.
There it is.
Yes. So this is a Defender of Freedom Award from the Faith and Freedom Coalition.
That's pretty cool.
It is. I can add it to my collection of belts.
You got one or two of those, right?
Yes, yeah.
Aaron Gulbranson, you guys are doing this annually, I think. You offer these to, well, tell me the criteria that you look for in a Defender of Freedom.
Defender of Freedom is somebody in the state of Tennessee that is an elected official that most ardently defends the rights, freedoms, and prosperity of Tennesseans. It's as if I've said that numerous times today and yesterday.
I think so. And so Glenn Jacobs is a recipient. What made Glenn the perfect type of candidate that you want to give a Defender of Freedom
perfect.
award?
You said it. I'm just perfect. That's why.
Honestly, he's the best county mayor in the state. He consistently shows an intelligent conservatism, governs the county wonderfully. He's a model for other mayors around the state, and we'll never forget the ardent defense of the Constitution and the citizens of Knox County that he did during COVID.
Well, and yours is not an easy lift in Knox County because you're dealing with Knoxville, right? And walk me through. I remember the first time we talked, you tried to help me with this dynamic because I was brand new in the state.
Right.
And it's for newbies, it's a little weird. Like, wait a minute, you're the mayor of Knox County, but you're not the mayor of Knoxville. Right. So you have to deal with some more liberal-minded people in Knoxville, right?
Sure. And in Tennessee, we have county mayors, which does sound weird because you normally associate that with cities. But really, we have the same role as a city mayor just outside of the city. In Knox County, we have the city of Knoxville and the town of Farragut, our municipalities. And yes, we do more in Farragut. They have very limited scope of what they do. But the city of Knoxville, I mean, it's full blown. They're their own government and do mostly their own stuff.
All right, and it's do you get some of that backlash sometimes from people not understanding?
Yes, I do, and we actually work pretty well with the city. There's certain things that we disagree on, and we just agree to disagree on those things. Sure. We work together where we can, but it's always funny how people on Twitter be like, "Oh, you did this." I was like, "Well, that was actually the city, and I have no purview over that particular decision." But thanks for your feedback.
Well, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to ask you about some of the things going on across the state of Tennessee and maybe even a little more globally and across the United States of America. Mayor Glenn Jacobs is in studio with us along with Aaron Gulbranson with the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition. Quick timeout, back in a moment on Super Talk.
This report is sponsored by WeBuyAnyCar.com.
I'm not getting the night's sleep that I should get. And for most individuals that have sleep apnea, they're snoring and they're preventing their sleeping partner from sleeping as well. So it's all about your health and it's all about your good night's sleep. Dr. Poss and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. Find out more. There are 2 locations to serve you in Brentwood and Murfreesboro. And remember, they're in network with all of the major insurance companies in the state of Tennessee. So your insurance is going to take care of most of the costs of your sleep appliance with Dr. Stephen Poss. DrPoss.com. That's DRPOSS.com. Back after it, Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy and you, and a full studio. We've got Aaron Gulbranson of the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition, and you know, enough about him. Mayor Glenn Jacobs is in studio with us this afternoon, joining us as we, thank you, Belle, as we continue talking with the mayor. So here's my question. Okay?
Okay.
What's up with you and the governor's office?
So you said he was going to say that.
He just passed his prologue.
Oh, you mean visiting the governor this morning?
No, running for office.
No, yes, that's exactly what I mean. Yeah, you did. You visited the governor.
I did. Yeah, we stopped by to say hello to the governor.
Yeah,
presented him with an award. Great. Went really well. I haven't seen him in a few weeks.
So you're going to run, right?
I was in the office.
You're going to allow us. You're going to allow us. You're going to allow us the privilege of saying our next mayor, correct? Our next governor.
I was the bulldog. I thought I was.
Yeah. Wow.
Man, he's coming after
from all sides here.
Hey, Glenn, I vote right here, ready to throw one down. Got to vote, ready to do it.
I mean, if he announces on our show, he's got my vote.
He's got mine regardless.
Might be a little too early for that. I mean,
it's a little too early.
Look, the word that everyone here, you get it. I mean, you've heard all of this. A lot of people are excited about the possibility that you're considering running for governor.
Well, I'm flattered by that. I really am. But right now, I still have 2.5 years left as Knox County mayor. So my main priority is being the best Knox County mayor that I can be.
How do you feel like, if you ever were to make that decision down the road, how do you feel like you would be as a governor? Is it similar in nature to the way that you've managed Knox County?
I think so. Obviously the scale's much larger. Our budget in Knox County is about it is about $1 billion now. We're not a little bitty place. We have 500,000 people. There's 7 million in the state of Tennessee with a budget now of over $50 billion. And there's a lot of things that the governor deals with that as local mayor we don't deal with. So, but I think some of the fundamentals as far as working with, I'm a peer executive. I don't sit on county commission. I think some of the fundamentals as far as working with the legislature and those sort of things are probably very similar, just a much, much larger scale.
When you look around the state, when you talk to people around the state, I know you're always moving and shaking and going to different communities. What are the priorities of the people of the state of Tennessee that you hear about?
Tennessee's in a wonderful place, and I think that one thing that we kind of take for granted here is yesterday we all paid federal income tax, and obviously in Tennessee we don't have an income tax, a state income tax, and I think that really helps us. But it's just like everyone else around the country in the conservative areas. We have a lot of people moving here from the blue areas, and how are we dealing with that? Ensuring that we keep our quality of life high, that our political philosophy here in the state of Tennessee, which has served us so well over the past decade or so, that doesn't change. I think it's just that quality of life of Tennessee still being Tennessee.
Do you think that we are experiencing, I think to a lesser degree than some other states and some other major metropolitan areas, but are you concerned in Knox County specifically, Knoxville, Nashville, Memphis, some of the crime that we're seeing, and sadly, I think on the back end of it, it's exacerbating some of that crime because we don't see our local district attorneys doing everything necessary to keep these criminals behind bars.
We don't have that issue as far as district attorneys in Knox County. We have a very strong district attorney general. So that's something that we don't deal with. Crime, unfortunately, across the country is going on. And, you see what's happening in Memphis, and that's an awful situation, as well as here in Nashville.
Police officer shot on.
Yeah, it's
killed on Friday.
It's just absolutely terrible. But again, in Knox County, we have a strong sheriff. We have a strong DA. The Knoxville Police Department actually does a really good job as well. We have the crime, but we're not facing almost the crisis like they are in the Nashville area, the Memphis area.
I want to circle back to the yesterday, April 15th, and us paying our federal taxes. Are we getting our money's worth? See, that's what I'm here for. Just throw Jacobs the softball.
No, absolutely not. I mean, the federal government's just a basket case right now. I mean, just everything is just, it's just all politics, and things are falling apart around the country. We're just talking about crime. Well, so much of that is a result of policies coming out of Washington. We got $35 trillion in national debt. I mean, we pay so much money into the federal government, and then they still can't cover all the bills. So when I look at Washington, I just shake my head. I think it's just an absolute basket case.
I mean, what does Tennessee do to better insulate, or can Tennessee do anything to better insulate itself from the poor policies of D.C., right? I mean, a lot of times folks will call in and they're being critical of Governor Bill Lee.
Right.
And I understand their frustration. They're saying, why are we letting these illegal aliens come into Tennessee? And, you try to explain the nuance of the federal and the state. What do you say to all of that?
Yeah, well, like with the legal immigration issue, no one from the federal government even talks to us. Right. When Donald Trump was in the White House, we actually had regular conversations with his Department of Intergovernmental Affairs. That doesn't happen under Biden. We literally have no idea what's going on. The State Department doesn't tell us anything. Homeland Security doesn't tell us anything. And, some of these issues, it's like the feds just act like, well, we can do whatever we want, and we're the only game in town. One of the things that Donald Trump was really good at, that even some folks on the left will acknowledge, was their communication with state and local governments was outstanding. Biden, it's just like this top down, you're going to do this, and we're not even really going to tell you what's going on. And it's incredibly frustrating because people ask me those same questions, and I'm literally like, I don't know. I talked to our congressman, he doesn't know. I talked to our senators, they don't know. And
when you talk to local law enforcement in Knox County, and I think we could extend this statewide, but I'll focus on your county. Have your law enforcement officials noticed an uptick in interactions with illegal aliens? I mean, I know that there's only so much that they can do, but have they noticed that they're interacting more?
I don't think so much they are. Now, we're a 287G community, which means that our deputies are deputized by ICE, so they can actually
arrest powers.
Yeah, they do. And they can turn people over. Where we see it more is things like schools and other services, especially, big influx of Spanish-speaking kids to our area, which puts an enormous burden on our school system because that's just more money that they have to pay to have people that specialize in whatever language. So that's probably where we see it the most.
You mentioned schools. There's a lot of debate as to whether or not this education scholarship bill that the governor has been pushing is alive or dead. I think it's teetering. I think I think we'll figure it out at some point over the next week or so, whether or not it survives committee. Have you thought a lot about this? Have you talked to your constituents? Where are they on this?
School choice among Republicans is very popular. In fact, it's a platform of the Republican National Committee. The issue is in some of the smaller areas, they see their schools being harmed by this, by funding being transferred somewhere else. We would be impacted more in Knox County because we're such a big community. We have a lot of private schools. We have a lot of opportunities for that. So for me, I think it's very important because we're a country that's supposed to be about freedom of choice, right? People get to choose how they spend their money, how they raise their kids, and all those sort of things. School choice is a great example of that. The fact that it's not just private school versus public school. It's, for instance, my brother is an auto mechanic. He went to Votech school, right? Those opportunities are just not really there in the public school system at this point because we've really taken so much of that out. So for me, it's just about expanding the opportunity for young people to be exposed to different career pathways, right? And I'm myself, I'm a big school choice proponent for that reason. And I think what we do is we boil it down to, it's public versus private. No, it's about options and opportunities for young people is how we should view it.
Mayor Glenn Jacobs is in studio with us for a few more moments, talking with him about a variety of issues, including Knox County, the state of Tennessee, and the United States of America. It seems like there's been a shift. I've been doing this for almost a quarter century. And over the last 5 years, there's been such a cultural shift with regard to individuals the transgender issues, DEI issues, and these sorts of things. And it's one thing for the culture to try to figure out where it is on it. The government seems to be infiltrating this conversation and getting involved in it. When we first had a conversation, I kind of bonded with you because I call myself a small L libertarian. I don't belong to the party, but I believe in that basic philosophy of government, and I think you do too.
Yes.
Where should government be on all of this? I mean, it's that line between leaving families alone versus protecting the rights of the most vulnerable of our citizens.
Right. Well, when we look at things like, the sex change procedures, and I do not call them gender affirming, okay, because we're talking about sex change procedures. I believe that what the General Assembly has done there is perfectly acceptable and something that needs to happen. If you're not 18 years old and people are making decisions that are permanent for you, that's very harmful. So I think the government should step in there. A lot of these things, what happens though is government ends up pushing this down our throats, right? The extreme left, folks that I would in the past would have considered kind of moderate. Well, now they're pandering so much to the extreme left that we're getting some of these crazy ideas, and they're just permeating everything. And then they literally are pushing those. So for the most part, we need to stay out of that stuff. But you're exactly right. We need to protect kids, and I think our General Assembly here has done a really good job of that.
You're obviously a supporter of Donald Trump for president in 2024. I just got a text message on the membersnutrition.com super text line that says, Todd writes in, and he gets it, and I love this. He says, you need to run for president in 2028. I love that.
I just said Washington, D.C. is a basket case.
But if you were president for a day, have you studied enough about what needs to be done at the southern border? I mean, is it as simple as re-implementing Donald Trump's policies?
Yeah, his policies worked really well. Also, to me, we can't have a discussion about illegal immigration without also talking about welfare reform. and eliminating all of this magnet that people come here for, but if you look at what Trump did, it was absolutely working. Then Biden turns around, reverses it all. We have this huge crisis, and then he turns around and says it's all Trump's fault. No, dude, it's your fault. You caused all of this to happen. And then you look at some of the other issues that we face, and really it's just a lack of political will to do the right thing.
You're lying, dog-faced pony show.
Thank you, Mr. President. We appreciate that. So in a couple of minutes we have left, I'd be remiss if I didn't press a little bit on this. So what is your process? I know you're focused on Knox County. But so many folks have to express their desire that you cast your hat into a larger ring, governor or whatnot. What is your process moving forward about how you process that? I know you hear it. I know you see it on a regular basis. I know you have to appreciate it. How do you respond to it moving forward?
Well, I do appreciate it, and the fact that folks would say that. Based on my track record as Knox County mayor, makes me very proud, that they think I'm competent enough to do that job. There's really two things. First of all, and I did the same thing when I thought about running for mayor. I grew up and my family didn't have a whole lot, and I got an opportunity and I was able to just live an unbelievable life thanks to the American dream. Right. And for me, it's all about that. It's all about protecting that dream for the next generation. Where can I do that best? Where I be best at that? What position would my skill set be best utilized? Okay. So you have that side, but then you also have the personal side. My family, and they're all involved in this. When I started getting out of wrestling, my wife's like, hey, you're going to be home all the time. Well, not so much. and I would like to enjoy more time with them as well. And, I don't want to say it's a sacrifice because it's something you choose to do, but at the same time, you do lose some things when you decide to do stuff like this. So it's really a balancing act between, okay, where would I best serve whoever, the people of Tennessee, people of Knox County, and on the other hand, will that interfere with my family? Is it something that my family can get behind? My wife has always been very supportive of everything that I've done. She doesn't necessarily like this gig because that's just not her thing. But she's always been supportive with everything throughout my entire life. But at the same time, I owe it to them to really take into account how this could impact them.
I want to explore one little thing you said. You talked about running for mayor of Knox County. I mean, what was the specific? Was there something specific, or was it just a general feeling of wanting to give back?
It was a general feeling of, I think I could do some good here.
Right.
And that was really it. Yeah, like you, I'm a very small government person, so I'm pretty much mad about everything the government does all the time. So it wasn't like I could point to one issue. But at the same time, Knox County, much like Tennessee, was in a really good spot. Congressman Tim Burchett, who was mayor, had done a good job. I very much agree with Tim's political philosophy. You look at the state of Tennessee, we're in a great position because we've had great leadership. And that kind of also makes things easier. And then in Knox County, too, I think like 90% of Knox County, 80% of Knox Countyans do. So it's actually easy for me. I was talking with someone the other day, and I told him, look, I couldn't do this job in some areas of the country because it would just be miserable all the time. Whereas here in Knox County, these are my people, right? And we agree on almost everything.
It is a special I almost said politician, and I think it's almost a dirty way to talk about you, but it's a special political figure that you have repeatedly telling people that, look, I understand where you're coming from. I understand what your issue is. That's not the role of the government, right? It's harder to do that, I think, sometimes, than it is to swipe money from the taxpaying citizen.
It's a lot harder
to do the thing, right? To explain to people, hey, I feel you. I know that you're going, because oftentimes people are coming at you with problems that they want you to solve. And it's hard to look at those folks.
All of us want to make people happy, right? But what a good decision maker does is he doesn't just look at what's right in front of him and the intended good outcomes. He has to look far beyond that and say, what are the long-term unintended destructive consequences of this particular policy? Every time we spend tax dollars on something, what that means is we're depriving people who we took that money from of that money. So if we're going to do it, it better be something that's really good, and it better be something that benefits everybody to the most possible extent.
Mayor Jacobs, thank you so much for spending some time with us. I don't normally get people coming to look at the window. They've been doing that because, Kane's in the building, so That's a nice thing. I love that.
It's kind of like the zoo here, then, isn't it? You and me.
You're probably a lot more used to that than I am.
Thanks, man. I appreciate having me on.
Mayor Glenn, thank you so much. Glenn Jacobs joining us for the better part of the hour. It's 12:53 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
We've got so many opinions.
Everybody knows it.
You might have to upgrade your phone. Listen anytime, anywhere with the WTN or iHeartRadio app.